On today's edition of the Time Blueprint, we're talking about how patience pays and the power of delayed gratification. You know, sometimes it's hard to make those financial sacrifices when you could get this immediate payoff. But what are the times where it will really benefit you to have a little bit of patience and maybe put that benefit off just a little bit longer? We're going to break down those cases and those times and situations on today's show, so stay tuned. Welcome to the Time Blueprint with Frank Oliver of Oliver Asset Management. Here, we break down taxes, income, money, and estate planning, giving you the tools to make informed financial decisions and aim for better retirement outcomes. Your host is financial advisor Frank Oliver, the president and founder of Oliver Asset Management. He's the author of Your Time Is Now, sharing the essentials you need to know to craft a comprehensive and customized retirement plan. Dive in with us as we offer clear strategies and straightforward advice, all designed to empower you in your financial journey. Welcome to the Time Blueprint. Frank, great to be back with you.
Walter, happy 2024.
Yeah, well, our first, we technically have released a show in 2024, but our first taping of 2024.
Good points,
for the viewers and listeners. Yeah. And what'd you get up to over the holidays?
Well, we did a little Georgetown extravaganza up there. Kind of wanted to do a little sleepy Christmas. So we went to Georgetown and tried to ride the train. Train was booked out.
Wasn't as sleepy as you thought it was.
Wasn't as sleepy as we thought it was. Went on a snowshoeing adventure.
That's cool.
Brittany, myself, and then the guide ran into a moose. That was interesting.
You didn't literally run into it, hopefully.
It was pretty close to running into it. Yeah, we were within maybe 30 feet, so it was nice. Close enough. So that was interesting.
Did you get some pictures?
Did not get pictures. Oh wait, no, we did get a picture.
Did you get a picture?
Did get a picture.
Can we put the picture up with the
I'll
video?
see if I can find it. Yeah.
Okay.
It'll be pretty cool to see. Yeah.
Our viewers on YouTube will know if you have found it. We are showing it right now.
Yeah, I will. I'll grab it. I'll definitely get that to you. It was pretty cool. Then we saw a snowshoe rabbit on the way back down.
Oh, that's cool.
That's pretty cool.
Are they a little more rare to run into?
I've never seen one before.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess.
Pretty cool. Yeah, we'll just call it.
Yeah, we'll call it rare, right?
Another rare
exactly.
Event,
yeah.
Right? Rare for you.
Yeah, right. Met a really nice older couple at a restaurant we were at, and he was telling me stories of growing up as a kid in New Jersey with the Gambino family.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. He had some interesting stories.
What an interesting Christmas and New Year's you had.
Absolutely. It was pretty neat. So how about yourself?
Very cool. It was good. We went back east and did a lot of good picture taking on the coast and got to see my parents' new house. They just retired.
Cool.
Up in Maine. And
good for them.
We do a tradition Christmas Eve because my grandparents have lived in Maine for many years. We do lobster on Christmas Eve. And so it's a pretty
I like that.
It's a pretty nice tradition.
Absolutely.
So Dad got a new cooker that could fit 80 gallons of water, and it's like a double-barreled.
It's like an aquarium.
I know, and it's like a double-barreled, fire underneath of this thing. It sounds like a jet engine's taking off when he fires it up.
I've got to see it.
It boils that 80 gallons of water. It felt like within 15 minutes we had a fully boiling.
It's almost as big as a hot tub. Did you
water.
sit in it?
We did not sit in it. Lobsters sat in it.
Lobsters sat in it.
Yeah, exactly. So no, it was great. Good.
It sounds awesome. Yeah,
and everything.
Yeah,
so,
good.
Glad to be back in Colorado. Glad to be back chatting with you. And
absolutely,
we got a good topic today. We're going to talk
about
patience, something that's hard, right? I mean, anything in life.
It's very hard.
Patience is a virtue, right?
It totally is. Absolutely. Yeah.
So we're going to talk about areas in the financial world where some patience will definitely help you out a little bit. So let's get into some specifics and talk examples here. Passing up on the 401k match would be one example of where people, because it requires you to put money away in order to get that match from your employer, but I got to put that money away that I'm not going to touch until my 60s. And that's painful for some folks, even though it's a really good return that you're getting from free money from your employer. How do you usually navigate that conversation with somebody who, I'm guessing this is probably when people are a little earlier in their working years?
A little younger, yeah. So I always relate to myself. So if I go back to my 20s and 30s, I was always pretty good about saving money. But I also enjoyed cars. I'm I'm just a car guy, right?
Yeah.
So I enjoyed those toys. And I knew that if I had to write a check every single month to fund a retirement plan,
not going to happen.
The discipline may not have been there. So I set everything up totally electronically. So it came out of my paycheck, went into savings, and then it swept right over into a brokerage account. And that's how I established my first retirement plan. And that's going back 30 years. So I just explain it the same way to the people that come into my office. You honestly, if it's automatic and it's out of sight, out of mind, you're not going to miss it. It's like your budget automatically adjusts. Everything takes care of itself. And before you know it, you're going to wake up and you got $10,000, $20,000, $50,000, $100,000 saved up, plus the free money. Don't give up free money.
Yeah.
If your employer's going to match, I mean, it's just, I'm going to give you $100 a month for free.
Yeah.
You know, no.
It's literally the equivalent of a 100% return on your investment.
That's
right?
exactly what it is. Absolutely. So I do
And
see a lot
who would turn down that investment?
well, believe it or not, there are some people that do it, and I'm just not. And I think you're right. I think it does go back to the discipline, or maybe I should pay off my car first, or I should pay off my college loan first. And I think you got to have that balance. And I mean, investing over the long term. I think what people forget about investing is the magic of the compounding interest.
Yeah.
That's the biggest component there that people don't think about. So very important to take advantage of that, and definitely get the free employer match.
Take advantage of it early as well.
Right.
If you are watching our show and listening and you're on the earlier end of the spectrum. If you're later on in your working years, definitely still be taking that 401k match. All right. That one's an easy one. How about this next one? A little more complicated and nuanced, perhaps. Saving in only tax-deferred accounts. This is a choice for a lot of people because you get to write it off on your taxes this year, or you don't have to pay taxes on a portion of your money this year. So that's the immediate benefit versus having to wait until you're retired to take out maybe tax-free money, kicking that can down the road. And that's very attractive to a lot of people, and maybe not as egregious as number one, right?
Yeah. So how many people do you run into that love the IRS? They cannot
Zero.
wait to hand over money to IRS. Everybody loves to do that, right? So it does make sense from an emotional standpoint. And sometimes from a financial standpoint as well, to defer those taxes. You do save money on that tax bill that year. You kind of feel better about not giving everything to the IRS that year. Kicking the can down the road is a really good example, because unfortunately what happens with that situation is when you get closer to retirement and you haven't contributed to any other tax classification, such as a non-qualified or a Roth account, now you're too close to retirement. You don't have time to build up those other tax classifications, and every nickel coming out of those accounts is 100% taxable. I see a lot of individuals at retirement, they're in the same exact tax bracket at retirement as they are when they're working. They may have done a very good job of savings, and maybe they got $500,000 or $1 million in a 401k/IRA, but they haven't really adjusted their budget a whole lot. Maybe the house is starting to become paid for, but they're still living basically the same lifestyle.
Sure.
Now, that income has to come from somewhere. If it's going to come from your IRA, it could easily put you up in a 22% tax bracket. Okay. So it's nice to have the three tax buckets. You got the tax deferred, the taxable, and the tax free. So yeah, and you can get real complex on this. We kind of look at people's individual tax brackets and help determine what is your actual savings today.
Okay.
If you're in a low tax bracket, definitely get the employer match, defer some of that income, so you get the tax deferral on that. But in a low tax bracket, maybe it makes sense to put some money into some of the other tax classifications. Somebody's in a 35% tax bracket. It's even tough advice for me to say, put it into a Roth, because 35% is a big hit. So typically what we try to do is wait till they get a little bit closer to retirement. Then when they retire, tax bracket drops, and then we'll move some into a Roth.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. So it's a more nuanced conversation, really, you need to have with people when they come in to meet with you. I think the warning here is just don't only do tax-deferred accounts in most cases. You might want to just get a balance. Yeah,
you definitely need the tax deferral, but it's good to have a taxable account as well. Yeah. Some people can't contribute to a Roth, maybe the income limitations, but at least get a non-qualified and a qualified account.
Okay, very good. All right, something else that is maybe a big issue for some, and I might have to raise my hand a little bit on this one, Frank. I tend to do this.
Is this something where we've all been here type situation?
We've all been here, right? Yep. Depleting the emergency fund. So you're saving up money for an emergency, but then you're like, I kind of want to use that for a hot tub, or I want to use that to go on a vacation to Vail, or do something else fun with that money instead of it just sitting there. And I'll rebuild it up later, but I'm going to rob it for now and go do something fun with that money. Do you see this as a common problem for folks?
Yeah, absolutely. It's tough to see that money sitting in a bank account not doing anything. So we call it lazy money. We'll probably talk about that at some other point. But the lazy money is money just sitting in cash, not keeping up with inflation. It's not working hard enough for you. Now,
usually you don't want it.
Usually you don't. Right now, the money's not quite as lazy in cash as it used to be. But, with the exception of the last 18 months, money in cash has been very lazy. It's not working for you at all. And you're right. When you're sitting there watching that bank account and that hot tub commercial comes on, or the boat commercial comes on, or the jet ski commercial comes on, exactly. It's we want to enjoy our life, right? Yeah. You do want to enjoy your life, and so it's difficult not to dig into those funds. But I just think it's discipline, and once you get used to it, it becomes easier and easier and easier. Our cash bucket, our liquid bucket, is 6 to 12 months. Yeah, so figure out what your expenses are. Not the hot tub, not the jet ski, your basic necessity expenses. Set that aside. That way, if you lose your job, You got 6 to 12 months to find another job, and
Yeah.
and things are pretty easy if you set it up that way.
You'll be really glad you were patient. Hopefully you never need that emergency fund.
That's exactly
But you'll
right.
be really glad you were patient and built it up and let it sit there if you ever do need it.
And then when you get the 6 to 12 months built up, then start the hot tub fund.
Then you get the hot
There
tub
we go.
fund. I
Yeah,
like it.
exactly.
All right, very good.
Yeah.
All right, if you've got any questions as we go through the show today, don't hesitate to reach out to Frank and the team at Oliver Asset Management. You can always go online to oliverassetmanagement.com. We'll link to that in the description of today's show, or call 720-897-TIME. We're talking about Patience Pays, power of delayed gratification here. All right, so along those lines of the emergency fund, we have cashing out of a retirement plan. People could have a lot of different reasons for that.
Don't do it.
Is it ever a good idea?
Don't do it. You know what? I guess everybody, as we go through life, there's a lot of individuals out there that do end up having some emergencies, right? So the IRS does allow special provisions for first-time homeowner purchase, serious illness, disability. So there are ways to extract funds from a retirement account without the 10% penalty being exercised. So you can get out of that.
Okay.
But you're still going to pay taxes. That's the problem. So, if you're in a true bind, and you're going to have to pay some income taxes on it, if you can document everything properly, you can use some of those retirement savings without getting hit with that 10% excise tax.
Okay.
But I don't think that a lot of people really understand the taxation on that. So they're just going to look at this bank account or this IRA statement or 401k statement, and they got $200,000 in there, and they got this shiny hot tub jet ski Corvette sitting on the corner. That's absolutely just the worst place to pull those funds, because it's taxable. It's going to cost you 22% on average to get the money out of that 401k.
Yeah.
So
it's the opposite of that first one we talked about, passing up on the 401k match. You're giving up on this huge, easy money, and now you're just really kind of wasting money when you're cashing out a retirement plan the other direction.
And I guess even if we talk about, folks that aren't pre-59 and a half, they're post-59 and a half, so they're not going to be exposed to that 10% excise, tax.
Okay.
Still using retirement funds to purchase a car, pay off a house is very painful from a tax perspective. I talk about this in the book that I wrote. We had some clients up in Estes Park, sweetest people in the world, and they came down in their brand new SUV one day, wanted to show it off to me. And they were really proud. They paid cash for it. Okay. Well, I knew where all their money. Yeah, it sounds like a good move, right? So, but I knew where their money was, and they were good about not having lazy money. So their money was all working for them. They didn't have $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 in cash. And so I asked them, I posed a question, where did you guys get the money from? I don't care, but you didn't get it from me, and I know where your money is. And they mentioned to me that they had an advisor back east where they used to teach college. And they had $150,000 back there. And they're like, it was a good old friend, Frank. We just left it there. You have everything else. We didn't want to upset you, let you know the money was there. So we just decided to cash in the IRA and go buy the car.
That causes a big taxable event,
I didn't want to burst it. It was a huge taxable event. And I didn't. And these are very educated people. They're professors. Yeah. And I didn't want to ruin their enjoyment of the new car. So I just said, okay, well, congratulations, just get ready for tax season. They asked me why, and I'm like, let's just go enjoy your car. Just get ready for tax season.
We'll cross the bridge when we come to it.
It was almost a $20,000 tax bill.
Yeah. You can't reverse that, right?
You cannot reverse that.
Through that.
That's right.
The car was bought and paid for.
Yeah. I know people hate to pay interest. I know people hate finance charges. But even as high as finance charges are today, they're not 22%.
Not 22%.
That's right.
Yeah. That's a great point.
Yeah, exactly.
Would not have cost $20,000.
Right. That's right.
All right. Well, very good. So we know we don't want to do that one. All right. Last one here is about Social Security, something that you're talking with every single client that comes through the door about. And a lot of people are in that rush. Again, we're talking about patience here. A lot of people want to claim Social Security as soon as they hit that age 62. Yep. Where do you stand on that being a benefit to have maybe some patience there and not taking it so early? Yeah,
we do a lot of Social Security workshops, and I've gotten to some very advanced classes on Social Security, and we have several pieces of sophisticated planning software that helps us run Social Security analysis, and we put it into their overall retirement plan. And it actually never makes sense to take it at 62. Now, I understand the emotional draw. I understand people want to get their money out before it runs out. I know that they've been paying in their entire life. They want to get it back out as soon as possible.
Yeah. Scared it's not going to last.
Yeah, they get online and they look at the break-even calculators. And if I delay it, it's going to take me another 8 years of that aggregate income to make up for what I left on the table with the higher Social Security benefit. I can tell you time after time after time where people elected early, and then let's say that was the primary earner, right? So that would have been the larger benefit. And then unfortunately they pass away. Their surviving spouse gets that lower benefit for the rest of their life? What if that surviving spouse lives to be 90, right?
Yeah.
What if both couples live to be 85 or 90 years old and they had that smaller benefit for 25 or 30 years,
True.
right? So in retirement, it's all about cash flow. Social Security grows at 8% a year. Social Security is a tax-free benefit. Now, there's provisional income that changes that when you add other income to it. But as a Social Security benefit alone, 100% income tax-free. And when you get a cost of living adjustment on it, what happens if your cost of living adjustment is on $1,000 versus $2,000 versus $3,000?
Yeah.
That cost of living adjustment is amplified on a bigger benefit. So that cost of living adjustment is huge when you have a bigger benefit. This can go on and on as far as a planning strategy, but we do a lot of Roth conversions.
Okay.
Roth conversions, it's taxable to make that move. When you go from an IRA to a Roth IRA, you have to pay taxes when you do that. Okay. The taxes is based off of your AGI. It's based off your tax bracket, correct?
Okay.
Well, what happens if you add Social Security into your tax bracket?
Bumping that up more,
You're
right?
bumping that up, meaning it's going to cost you more to do a Roth conversion.
Okay.
Right. So if you don't need the income today, I would definitely defer, take advantage of all the other planning strategies. Think about your spouse. There's the survivor benefit on that.
Yeah.
And just give it some good thought. I understand, the
urge, right?
Yeah, the urge to take that money versus spending yours first. You spent so long saving your money.
Yeah.
I can get this money that essentially you kind of think is free money, even though it's your money. It's easier to take that.
That's a component I never thought about.
Yeah.
That the emotional side of my money versus what's not my money.
Yeah.
It's all actually your money.
It is.
But there must be something mental about taking Social Security first is less painful than it coming out of your IRA or 401k.
We're talking about all the discipline it takes to put money into a 401k and save.
Now you're undoing. And
that's right. Now so you finally built that discipline to save that money, and now you have to change that discipline. And it's a difficult mindset for people. So I understand it, but
I never thought about it from that perspective before.
Yeah.
So very cool. All right. So doesn't mean you won't take it at 62, but don't just do it as a knee-jerk reaction.
Yeah. I mean, I would definitely run an analysis, come see us and let us run the analysis and show you exactly how that impacts your retirement. There are some probably one-off situations where 62 makes sense for somebody.
Yeah, I was going to ask you how common that is.
Yeah, I mean, it's not very common, but I mean, it's, delaying till 70 may not be for everybody. I understand that. I just don't think that people should just automatically take it the day they retire or at 62. You need to really see how it impacts your overall plan, and that's what we do.
That goes really for anything we've talked about on the episode today, talking about the 401k planning and Social Security and building up emergency funds. It's all part of the planning process.
That's right. Absolutely. Taxes, income, money, and estate.
You got it.
Your time is now.
That is the name of the book. Your Time is Now, and you can get a copy of that when you come in for a visit with Frank and the team at Oliver Asset Management. Once again, here's the way to get in touch if you'd like to schedule a free visit with Frank, whether that be in person here in Colorado or from Zoom, anywhere that you are. You can go to oliverassetmanagement.com, schedule a free strategy session online today there, or you can call 720-897-TIME. That's 720-897-8463. All that contact information is in the description of today's show, so go check it out there. All right, it's time to get to know Frank a little bit better. All right, Frank, here's our question for you on today's episode. What was your favorite age growing up?
What is the most enjoyable thing for a 16-year-old male to do?
Getting your car.
Getting your car,
Yes.
getting that driver's license, right?
Yeah.
16 was definitely a pinnacle age for me.
Yeah.
I love to drive.
Me
My
too.
dad taught me to drive when I was 15.
Nice.
That's when you got your learner's permit here in Colorado. And we had an old International Scout.
Okay.
76 International Scout.
Nice.
And I don't know, you're newer to the area, but I'm not sure if you're familiar with Poudre Canyon and Cameron Pass and all of that.
Yep, sure am. Have been up there a few times.
Well, imagine in a 1976 International Scout stick shift where the shifter did this,
Yep.
right? And the steering wheel's about this big, and you're in a sleet storm.
Oh, no.
Driving these windy roads, going up Poudre Canyon and Cameron Pass at the top of a mountain.
16-year-old.
15 years old at this point.
You were training.
Yeah,
Okay.
15 years old. So, but accomplishing that was really super cool.
Yeah.
And then we got up to the cabins and just little single trail dirt roads up there, and he let me drive on those, and it was a life changer.
Cool.
So the day I turned 16, I got my license, and that
it.
was a good year.
I'm right there with you. Mine might have been 17.
Yeah.
I got the license in 16, but 17, senior year of high school was just awesome. I had a great senior year.
I loved high school.
That was probably my favorite.
Absolutely, yeah.
First year or two, not as great. Last 2 years,
perfect. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
About as good as life can get, I would say. That's
Agreed.
That's pretty cool.
Agreed.
I liked high school. I was a bigger fan of high school than college. Maybe
I
other
was
people
too.
might be the other way around, but
yeah, I still have my old high school friends. We keep in touch. We keep in contact. Yeah, but not any close friends. That's right. Absolutely.
That's cool.
Class of '86.
I love it. I love it. I still remember my first drive in my car at 16 when I got it. Life savings, bought the car. Dad got it from an older woman who was on his pest control route. He'd called me up and said, well, I got a good car for you. This lady drives it 3 miles a day.
Perfect.
It was a Subaru Legacy, 1990, just a little box of a car. Yeah. And I said, all right, we'll take it. And he brought it home. I hopped right in it. It was pouring down rain.
That's awesome.
And drove through the rain, blasting the music. Right. And I was in heaven. Same thing, like independence reached a new level.
Oh, yeah. You became a man that day.
I sure did.
Absolutely. Yeah. It was cool. I had a
great.
66 four-door Ford Falcon.
Oh, nice.
That was a hand-me-down from my neighbors to my grandma to my dad to my uncle.
Okay, wow.
And then my uncle used to build race engines, and so it had a 289
in
it.
Had a little juice in it.
He did when he got done with it. It did. That was probably not the proper car for them to give me, but yeah.
Oh, that's great. I cried the day my Subaru bit the dust. It was.
Did you?
That was a sad day when that first car dies.
Yeah, I know. I know.
It happens.
Good
All
times.
right, fun stuff. All right, time to get back to the finances, and we got a really good listener question. So let's open up the mailbag. All right, today's listener question is from Dan, and Dan says, I've always donated to several different charities at the end of the year, but since the tax laws changed a few years ago, it seems that it didn't benefit me from a tax standpoint anymore. Am I missing something here, or does it really not help my taxes anymore when I go to make donations? He does add on to this, yes, I realize there are other reasons to give to charity other than tax breaks. So,
yeah, Dan, that's a great question, and I understand. We have a lot of clients coming to us that's love to give to charities. They really enjoy giving back, but they're not taking advantage of the tax breaks. And you're right, with the higher standardized deduction, it's harder to get a tax break when you do give to charities.
That's the thing that happened a few years ago that
that's
caused
exactly
this
right.
change,
Yep,
right?
Yep, that's right. Now, but there are some strategies out there where you can still give, but the IRS is okay with you saving money on taxes. So it's okay to give, and it's still okay to save money on taxes. If the IRS is going to create these avenues for you to save tax dollars, we should take advantage of those. So one is known as a QCD, or Qualified Charitable Distribution. Okay. You can utilize that. You can still utilize that at age 70 and a half, even though they've raised the required minimum distribution age all the way up to 75 now, depending on your birth date. Okay. But you can still gift at 70 and a half. So if you give your RMD directly to a charity, it never hits your 1040. Okay. It hits your 1040 and it's not enough to exceed the standardized deduction. You're not going to get a tax deduction on it. Okay. But if it goes directly to charity, it never shows up as income. Now, let's say that you're not of age to have a required minimum distribution. You can set up a donor advised fund. We use those quite frequently, where you take a lump sum of money that you just know I'm going to gift X amount of dollars over the next 3 years or 5 years or 10 years. If you allocate those funds into a donor advised fund, you get a tax break on all of those funds that year, even though you haven't gifted them to charities that year, even though it may be over the next 5 years you give those funds out. But by designing an account to hold those funds to give to charities over the next 5 years, you receive a huge tax deduction for doing that. And you can do some really cool things with that. You can use that tax deduction to offset taxes on Roth conversions and all kinds of unique planning strategies.
So the QCDs might help you spread out what would be a spread out tax hit. You can then divert that to charities systematically. Sure. Yep. But yeah, you need to offset something big in 1 year, then the donor advised fund gives you a little bit different flexibility.
Yep. Huh. So there's still some very, very strong, unique strategies out there. So
okay, very good. Hope that helps you out, Dan. Feel free to talk to Frank about your specific situation, whether you're Dan, whether you're someone else, and you've got a question about your finances, don't ever hesitate to reach out. One more time, the ways to get in touch with Frank to set up a free strategy session online, 720-897-TIME. That's the number to call. Or you can go online to oliverassetmanagement.com, and you can book a session even right there from the website. Links in the description of today's show, so check that out. And Frank, thank you for all the help on the show today.
You bet. Thank you, Walter.
Time Blueprint. Advisory services offered through Creative One Wealth, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Creative One Wealth, LLC, and Oliver Asset Management are unaffiliated entities. Licensed insurance professional. Respond and learn how financial products, including life insurance and annuities, can be used in various planning strategies for retirement. The information contained herein is based on our understanding of current tax law. The tax and legislative information may be subject to change and different interpretations. We recommend that you seek professional tax advice for applicability to your personal situation.